Hi, everybody. We're live. Okay. I'll wait until Alex has us live. You share to your page. Ready? Yeah. Just to my Facebook page. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Still Kicking. I'm Kay Ack, and this is Lisa Trunk and Bolts.
Hi, everyone.
And we're at the Cava Diem Coffee Shop. We have a small but mighty group with us here today. And I'm really excited to be here with you to talk about walking through 2020 with clarity, courage, and peace. And that's what we're gonna talk about today. So let us know if that you're with us and that you can hear us. And Alex will let me know.
I like that, walking through peace.
Yeah.
Yeah, calling that in.
Let me switch up just a little bit. You see us, Alex? Okay. All right. So welcome, everybody. Welcome on Facebook Live. Welcome, everybody in the house. I want to first send a shout out to local photographer Ben Rinnenbach, because he bought everybody here a coffee. Thank you, Ben.
Oh, Ben, thanks.
Yeah, so hope everybody's doing well on this beautiful night. I've got Lisa in the house. Lisa was probably one of the first guests that we had on Alive and Kicking. But as we said before, we taped that interview in January or February. So
last year. Was it this year?
Yeah, this year. Yeah. It's like the calendar has no meaning
Not anymore.
So we want to invite you to ask questions. Alex will be kind of fielding the questions for us so we can, I should put this on my lap so I can see it. So we can answer your questions. You can make comments, and we'd love to hear how you're walking through 2020. Because this is meant to be supportive for all of us, because truthfully, it's, I don't have any answers for people. Lisa doesn't have any answers for people, but we're definitely here to support each other on the journey. And hopefully some of the things that have worked for me may work for you. Some of the things that have worked for Lisa, hopefully will work for me. And so we can, kind of support each other. So I just want to, and if you're just joining us, again, my name is Kay Eck, and this is Lisa Trunkenbolts, and we're here for Still Kicking. So I want to start out, when we talked about your path back in January before March, you were telling me that you were working on some things on your path, things like people pleasing and using your intuition and kind of saying yes to the next thing that was up for you. And that's like all well and good, but it seems like now we're on like this incredibly fast-paced thing where it's not so leisurely anymore, like kind of everything is hitting us at once. So I would love to hear from you about what your path is like now, what I'm calling since the Ides of March, which I had to look up Ides of March. I don't know, it just like popped into my mind and I was like, Ides of March. So I looked it up and it's actually the full moon. It's technically the full moon, the day before the full moon of every month. But March in particular gained a lot of significance because Julius Caesar was assassinated on that day. And now it's like kind of like a division between like the old and the new. And so I just think it's so profound that really kind of all of this hit right before, during, after the new moon of March 2020. So I'm calling it the Ides of March. So tell us how your journey has been unfolding since the Ides of March.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, when we discussed potentially doing this and revisiting, just the idea of picking up where you left off in someone's story, right? Everybody loves the before and after stories of how it was, the challenge, and then of course how it became. But March it just changed the whole game of living as a human being entirely. And some of the smaller things that didn't feel so small in January, it was talking about people pleasing and figuring out how to just make the small adjustments in my life to kind of remove the ego and live a bit more holy, way more in line. And the gift of this year was that not much other than what is necessary, what is beautiful, and what is holy, it was just wiped off. It was just completely wiped off. Not only that, it feels very much to me and to so many people like there is a vibration, a wisdom available to us now, to me now, that was not before. And so it's kind of rendered a lot of the struggles moot. I have no desire to people please at this point at all, to the point where I think I need to practice a bit more kindness, and maybe not kindness, but mindfulness in how I am interacting with people, because this year has really just funneled everything down to what is important. What is the soul work? Because that's all it ever is. Yeah. So people pleasing, God, it's like, what does that really look like? And to be honest, it's completely transformed to the refined version, I suppose, of people pleasing, the altruistic version of that, which is whatever is not of maximum service to others just holds no meaning to me at this point.
Yeah, oh my gosh, that's really potent for me too, because one of the things, I mean, this is such a minor thing, but it was sort of emblematic of what was going on a deeper level. But this idea of like, especially looking a certain way, like in my house, in my jeans, there wasn't a lot of people around to please. And I just never, so I would go everywhere with I wouldn't even run a comb through my hair. Maybe I would brush my teeth if I was being kind to others, but I, not always, I'll admit it. And I just, and that has persisted, I like put a little stuff on for the camera, but generally I just don't care at all anymore. And also it's like, I'm not even conscious of it anymore. It's just, and I'm not seeing people in that way anymore. I'm seeing people on a deeper level,
Oh my goodness, yes.
Yeah. And because I know that it's been hard for everybody. There's not a single person on the planet who's not been challenged by the same issue, which is monumental, but it's also really beautiful, really beautiful that we're so connected by one experience.
I oftentimes ask myself, how am I showing up for this? And what purpose does, the facade, which is not a facade, that's not the right word, but the appearance, what purpose is that? And me and Diana had a really great conversation one time about dressing up the avatar and how that can be fun, and that's really well and beautiful. But I'm reflecting back on my life and realizing I don't want to bring with the practice of diluting an experience with someone, the soul work that can be done in any given moment, by worrying about how do I look? Like, what does my face look like? Or what does my hair look like? I mean, clearly I solved that issue. Yeah. But, and through that, you're right, just the amount of beauty that I'm witnessing in other people would have just right over my head, because I'm too concerned about, well, what do I look like? What do I sound like? What am I giving? Or what's their shoes, where they get their shoes or something. And every interaction at this point is just rife with soul work.
Yeah, that's so true. Oh my gosh. And I can't even really wear glasses anymore. It's like there can't be anything between me and who I'm, engaged with. And yeah, that's been one of the beautiful things. But I'm wondering, I think one of the advantages that we have, having been on this spiritual path for many years, is that I've spent probably 10, 15, 20 years working through all my personal issues and taking off all the masks and, kind of dealing with the boxes that I had put myself in, removing myself from the conditioning that my family had placed on me. But and so I've gotten much of that work done, and so now I'm stepping into observing the the collective conditioning, the collective suffering, all the things that are coming to light, the human trafficking and the dark agendas. But for a lot of people, they're dealing with both at the same time because they're experiencing the rapid awakening. And I just, that's part of the reason why I wanted to be here, because that's just like, honestly, it's too much,
So, I love it. Bring it on.
Yeah, well, because you've been through so much and that you've like built up your muscles. I mean, your story is like full of trauma and tragedy and difficulty and challenge. And so you're like, you're strong. So what do you have to say to people who, maybe don't have their muscles quite ready for this?
What stuck out was the rapid awakening. The rapid awakening. It is really intense, and this is a great opportunity. I really feel it is an opportunity. It's a universal opportunity for us all to ascend. And, whatever you subscribe to as to why we're all suffering the way that we do, I don't think it's just random or accidental, or I actually believe that there is a purpose behind it. Whatever that is, I haven't fully explored that. But how coincidental that we are all so separated. We are all put in our homes and afraid to be near one another. And I don't want to turn anyone off with this type of talk. It's amazing. I'm not sure how it unfolded this way. But once you start saying something like we need to be near one another, it triggers this response in people like, well, you clearly want to spread a disease or whatever. I know I'm skirting on the dangerous points here. I know I am. But this year really was a very potent awakening. And we would have benefited very much by simply being in one another's aura. Or energy, or being able to talk about it, And unfortunately, what we've done on top of our traumas is created this brand new web of collective trauma. And back in January, when I was talking to you, my answer probably would have been way different. Phone a friend, something like that. But now it seems much bigger. It really does. And not only that, many veils have been removed from me, and I understand. I understand the magnitude of the soul work at this point, and how ineffective, how far removed we become from our soul work, from that intuitive sense, from our God source connection when we're dealing with trauma, insecurity, fear, food, people are worried about food and things. That's a thing.
Yeah. I just kind of want to, if you're just joining us, welcome. I'm Kay Eck, and this is Lisa Trunk and Bolts, and we're still kicking, we're still talking, so that's good. But I just want to, and again, thank you to everybody who's here in person. I just want to say that, this idea that we need to be like in physical connection with each other, I do agree with that, but we also, I think it's important to say that we have the ability to connect on a spiritual level, on an energetic level, and that can be as fortifying as the physical connection. In case, you feel that you need to stay separate, or that members of your family are away from you and you can't be with them, there's a lot that you can do. And I don't want people to lose hope if, we go through another, sort of separation. And the separation is just like, it's an illusion. It's kind of like it's a forced illusion where we think we're separate, but we're really not.
Thank you for filling in those blanks. All of that too. It's, I definitely believe that. And it's true, just the intentions, how we select our thoughts and what we're doing with that. It has a very collective impact, for sure. But I guess more to closely answer your question about how to deal with trauma now. For me, it was a lot of prayer. Just constant connection with the Creator, always. And I was given very rudimentary tips on how to do that early on, when I started healing from my own physical and mental, like the gross of the trauma and the disconnect. In AA, it's called Sponsor, and she's so lovely. She really helped me, and her name was, I'm not supposed to say the name. Anonymous.
It's kind of like your TM mantra where you have to keep it secret. Right?
It's true, yeah. The mantra, yeah. And it was just every day. That's the first thing you do, and that's the number one rule every day. The first thing you do in the morning, you open your eyes, or maybe your eyes aren't even open, and you just, take a few moments of communion with the Creator and ask for guidance that day. And girl, it always works. Oh my gosh.
If you're listening, right? I mean, that's like the like even more important than the asking, but the asking, of course, is very important, but it's the listening for the response. And it may come in the most unlikely of ways from the most unlikely of people.
Yeah. Well, if you know anything about me, any of my friends who know about me, my most productive hours are between 9 p.m. and 3 a.m. in the morning, and I'm just a bad yogi when it comes to the early to rise thing. And so oftentimes when I wake up, my mind is so foggy. I'm in this, it takes me like an hour or two just to feel my day, but waking up with that faith and just having that prayer and sending it out and being in trust. I feel like faith and trust is number one.
Yeah. I've been wanting to tell people that, because I have like a complicated relationship with Source, God. I've used like all the words because I grew up in a traditional Catholic family. I went to Catholic school. And so I had to kind of like take a left turn. And it took me a long time to like come back and even really talk about the word God. And I want to just mention that you don't have to have a belief in anything in order to feel supported by the energy right now. Like you're not even going to be able to avoid it. It's going to sweep you up in certain moments. And I just encourage people to like really sit in those moments. If a wave of bliss or lightness or sunshine washes over you, to really take it in and know that it's like just for you. It's just for you.
Isn't that wild?
Yeah.
So, and dealing with, self-worth and things like that, and coming across a really good feeling that's happening for no reason or a clear reason or whatever it is. And the thought in the mind, like, I'm too happy, or should I really feel this happy, and things like that. I can feel just the struggle with that. Sometimes.
Yeah, I just wrote this. I'm almost finished with my second book, and I first of all, I want to just take a moment to say hi to Sarah and Krista in Oregon. They're both joining us live and kind of from the land of smoke and fire. And so we're sending our best wishes for comfort and peace and clear skies and soft rain. So anyway, but I forgot what I was saying. Yeah, okay. And again, if you have questions, please let us know. Alex is gonna let us know what they are. And what?
SelfWorth.
Oh yeah, SelfWorth.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Just
Oh, I know, I was saying, I was, never mind. I'll come back to it later. This is hard, y'all. Okay. Yeah, and I don't even have, okay, my questions. Okay, so one of the things that you had said in our last discussion, that some advice that you had for people was to have fun in the darkness. And I really want to know, what does that look like? And how would you define that?
Okay, give me a second here. For me, lately, it's been a lot of humorous moments where the mind sweeps in, or an event happens, and often it's just very ironic. It can be very funny, sometimes. If you take a look at it, particularly with the gift of this year, this rapid awakening, and I think the best way for me to sum that up, I received this message once, I can't remember from who, but it's so valuable to me. Just look at the mind like a precious child who's learning how to tie their shoes, and getting frustrated. And with that, there comes a lot of lightness. But then also for me, the way this looks for me is, creating. I love making art. And through studies of the traditions of yoga and meditations on the topic, just recognizing what is built in the darkness, what is built from, the burning down of things. I know that sounds really, really extreme, but for me, the fun is had in the creation that comes from the triggering of the dark.
Yeah. The art, I don't think that, got a bathroom emergency. The art, the idea of like taking the mind offline, and that's something that you do when you're engaged in something like art. I did a certificate in drawing and sculpture at the School of the Art Institute.
Stop it.
And it's
Why
like,
did I know this about you?
I don't know, but I used to do these just ginormous drawings on paper because I love paper.
Yeah.
And at the time, I was thinking it was sort of like I had finished raising my kids, or they were all in school, and I wanted to do something for myself, so I entered into this program. And I thought I was going to be like a fine artist, but I found the work to be so solitary that I could not do it. But looking back at the work, I realized how much I was working out my stuff through those works. And there was a lot of like dislocated limbs and, chopped off heads and like lots of stuff, that I was working through. But that was only really visible to me in hindsight. And I just think any of those types of things that you can take the mind offline, meditative things, are really super useful right now.
So important. And I've been really wanting to get back to my art lately. I've been away from it. This year has been tough. I'm as a business owner, I'm running yoga studios and doing things, and we've got my child, and thank you. I've got my child and working through school things with her, and it's week by week, so it's hard to plan. And for my life, planning is so important at this point. Structuring in time, and for a while I had, these days every week or these hours every week structured for that. So now I'm just kind of slipping in there whenever I can. But I've been desperately wanting to get back because you're right. I looked back at the progression of my art throughout maybe the past 3 to 4 years, and then prior. And 3 years ago, so in like 2017, 2018, I started to do these really intricate drawings of groups of women. It started with twins, it was the same spirit. And I realized that it was finding peace in the camaraderie of other women. I was healing that, because I didn't have that. You know, I grew up, the way I grew up, it's in the thing, it's in the video that we did in the interview, and watched it grow from there. And then the next was this, I committed to once a week, or one painting a week, oil painting. I wanted to learn oil painting. And in those oil paintings, it was a lot of nature, a woman in nature. And then lately it's been a lot of just kind of raw, fun sexuality in my art as well, which is something I never embraced. You know, like I never wanted to skirt that line because I didn't want it. I don't know. I just realized why. Does it ever come to you just like that?
Yeah.
You know, like, because I didn't want to deal with those wounds. I wasn't comfortable with it, you know? Yeah. And I would go to these art exhibits and kind of be turned off by some of these. I'm tending to my daughter right now.
Sometimes mom's got to bring her kids to work.
Yes.
That's just the way it is.
It's just the way it is. So I would go to these exhibits and see these like blatant sexual, you know, and women with, you know, vaginas and somehow placed into the art. And I was just so turned off. So turned off. And now I'm so attracted to it. Yeah. So there's something there. And this year has been the year of great sexual trauma healing for me in many ways.
Yeah. Well, that's the fruitful darkness, right? That's, yeah.
The fruitful darkness, yeah.
Yeah. So what is like thrilling you now? And how do you reach for that when things are feeling heavy and when things are like, you know, feeling like you're being weighed down by the energy?
What is thrilling me? Everything. It's really interesting. I'm going to answer both of those questions because both feel really important. But I am really thrilled by the potentiality that's just in the air, up for grabs. Building things. There's nothing that's kind of inaccessible. I mean, if you're resting in the soul. What's thrilling me the most is what happens when you just arrive. You know, if you just arrive for life, call it in, show up, how it just explodes in front of you like a spring garden. You know, it's just, yeah. What was the second question?
About how do you reach for what's thrilling you when you feel weighed down by the energy of it?
Yeah, that one feels important too. Because when I'm grieving, I feel very heavy, really wet, and luckily this year my life has been blessed with individuals who have the strength to remind me in those moments. And prior to this year, it was just stonewall lone wolf, you know, like I don't want you to know who I am. I don't want your help, you know. And it's not like I was sort of defiant at the world like that. I wasn't outwardly, you know, stay away from me, but I had constructed this great personality that in a very sort of slippery, tricky, hidden way kept people away, you know, for whatever reason. However I figured out a way to interact with that person that would just keep me in that place of being alone. And so this year just cracked that wide open. And and this is where it came from, I realized that in order to be of service, it's not a one-way wall. You know, service flows in and flows out. And my soul is hungry to serve, to be of service in all ways. It really is, like, that's what thrills me. Does this have a bigger purpose for everything, for everyone, all parties involved? And I realized I couldn't do that anymore without calling on other people. I could not tap into that. When the weight was on me, I was just under that weight. And the other night I had a really beautiful experience with someone who wouldn't let me move into my shell. Just would not. What is going on? And in that moment I had realized I was so removed from exercising that connection with someone else in my place of vulnerability, because I couldn't put words to it. I was like tripping over words. It was like learning a new language, but I got it out.
Yeah, I've had that experience with writing this book, which I was talking about before. I feel like it's just like, it's, in a way, it's kind of just like my workbook, and I have all these topics and that I want to address. And it's really like taking me through this really challenging process where I start to write about what I believe is supposed to come through about this topic. And then I'm like, oh wait, is that true? And then I have to dig a little bit deeper. And then I'm like, oh, okay, this is it. And then it's like, wait a minute, no, is that right? No, I think there's something more. And it's like this constant digging for like what the root issue really is. Like I was writing this chapter on apologies, and I noticed like how much of I'm both like an over apologizer and an under apologizer.
You are.
I am.
Yes.
See, yes, I over apologize for things that aren't my responsibility. And I have a terrible problem with apologizing for things that I really owe an apology on. So it's like a mess. It's an absolute mess. But uncovering it has been like really. So what I discovered as I was doing all this digging was that part of what's behind that is that I was operating under the assumption that if you make a mistake, people leave you.
Oh yeah.
Or they stop loving you.
But they do sometimes, and you're okay.
Right. That's right, they do.
I've experienced
people do leave you, and they stop loving you.
But they should.
But it's not because you made a mistake.
No.
So I know.
Sure.
But so
you mean you don't have to be perfect all the time?
Right. Well, so this is the thing. So I in order to avoid making any mistakes, I put that I would have to apologize for. I put on the mantle of perfectionism. And all of my relationships in all this time have been based on this idea that I need to be perfect to be loved, really. Isn't that awful?
I feel so held and understood right now.
If you're just joining us, I'm happy to hear that you're just joining us. I want to check in with everybody and see if anybody has any questions for us yet.
Sorry, I didn't.
All right. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about what's thrilling to me, if you don't mind.
Please. Sorry, I didn't ask.
So what I'm really thrilled about is I have had like the experience of showing up and like doing something like this with no more masks so that's phenomenal for me. It might not be, awesome for everybody, but it's phenomenal for me. But the idea that we're all going to be able to do that eventually as we work our way toward that is so thrilling to me. And it gets easier. That's what I want to tell people, because in the beginning, this process is so painful because the things that are covering us are difficult for us to deal with. We're wounded, and that's why we have the armor on. But once you start taking it off and revealing who you really are, it gets easier and easier and easier, and the rewards start just heaping on you. There's more opportunities to be yourself. There's more opportunities to meet other people who are themselves, and the connection that you have is so much deeper and so much more rewarding. Wow, isn't it?
Yeah. Whoa. I had to take that in for a second. So true. And just looking back into my life, how do I relate to what you're saying right now? Just looking at my circle of people, how that's evolved. Yeah. As phases of my life went by, and finding myself at events where I looked around and just suddenly realized I don't want to have anything in common with these people. I never have, and I'm tired of trying. And, stepping back from that, just in that moment, just becoming the person I want to be, or gradually, or however it goes.
You don't sound great.
That
Oh,
beautiful
Rachel's
lady
gonna
back
help
there, Rachel's
you.
gonna help you. Can you go back there?
Hi, Jude.
No.
My friend Jude from Australia is joining us.
Jude, the one you told me about,
What did I tell you about?
with she's designing.
Yes, yes.
Jude, we gotta talk.
We're going to have Jude on soon. She's going to talk about the home that she's building in Australia. That is, it's going to be very special. But she's a guardian of the land there, and she's building this incredible place on the beach. So we can all join her there. So what else do we want to cover, Lisa? Do you have anything else that you want to talk about? I want to talk a little bit just for a second about one of the things that you were touching upon is that when you start becoming your authentic self, you start to draw to you people who are in resonance with where you're at. And you almost don't even have to try, do you? Like you're just, it just is happening naturally. And all that angst that we experienced over, making friends and how difficult that was, that just sort of kind of fades away.
It's the facade, that is your friend collector somehow. It's like, it's how you're trying to make friends. How can I, and in volume too. I think that was another misconception I had, the quantity versus quality. And again, these are ideas I just didn't know. I just, you like feel like you don't belong, and you take that in, and why don't I feel like I belong here, and what's wrong with me, and then one day, I just came to the self-study part of that. Well, do I want to be friends with these people? Like I don't know how much I feel about you, but I feel like you don't like me, so I'm just going to focus on that. Yeah. And so yes, and since then, watching these beautiful women walk through the perimeter of my life, and then come closer and closer, and just watching them and just admiring them. What they're doing with their lives, how they show up, and it's never what I thought it would be. It's not status, it's not money, it's not looks, it's not anything. It's a radiance that shines through, and a grace, radiance and grace, and coming to the realization that that's what I want to embody. And then the slow ego kind of falling away, like just recognizing what it is, and what that means to me, and then letting them lead by example, and then finally the point of stepping into the circle with them and rising up. How can I be here? Not running anymore.
I also want to talk a little bit about, you mentioned earlier that I think a lot of people don't take the time to ask for what they want. Maybe it's issues of self-worth, like nobody told them that they could ask and that their wishes would be granted, like a genie, It's like the universe is becoming the genie that's out of the bottle. We can call things to us that we desire. And I just want to remind people that is an option that is available to them, that you can start calling in the support that you need, the friendships that you desire, the the assistance with this path, the light, help, whatever it is, partners, jobs.
Yeah. Oh gosh, when we had that Zoom meeting, I just felt the overwhelming need to just say that and hear it and like converse about that. This newfound ability this year to just manifest. What do you need? What do you want? Like it seems a bit like two-part, all of the things that didn't matter peeled away. We're just looking at what does matter. Okay, now let's ask for it.
And how do you do that? How do you ask? And how much do you ask? And when do you ask?
That's a great question. Before, I would think I would need to desperately ask and somehow earn it, and ask every day. But now it's almost as though there's a place within. There's just the field within. Stand there, ask for it once, and one and done, and it shows up tomorrow usually.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what are you calling in for yourself now?
I'm calling in to be of maximum service. I'm at a point in my life where I just want to, whatever it looks like. I don't care what it looks like. I don't care if I'm in the spotlight or not. I don't care what it means, but to arrive for people in a way that helps them to do this soul work, to be in this beautiful place that I'm feeling every single day. But also recognizing for the first time in my life that as a being of light in a dense vehicle, I need a home. I need to not worry about where food for my child and I are coming from. And that's always been a fear of mine. One, because it's a trauma that's not accurate, and two, because now I'm a single mom living in a home. So in a strange world at the moment. So I'm calling that in, and it's showing up. Now I have this homeschooling thing, and still running the studios in spite of everything, and day by day. But this beautiful home, I called in the ability to have freedom and independence and a beautiful home that was built, like my own little tiny kingdom.
Yeah, a little sanctuary.
A little sanctuary.
Yeah. I've been calling in a team.
Oh my gosh.
I want to collaborate, and I want to do it with other people. I've always been like doing all the work, and now I want like a team and helpers, and I want to help people too. I want us to like help each other.
Yes.
So that's what I'm calling it.
It blows my mind how so often, when we do connect on the phone, we have these ideas. So I feel you, like whatever you're doing is working.
You're here to help me. You want to be in service, and I want somebody to help me. So maybe you're doing it now, right?
Well, we're doing the team thing,
Yeah,
right? We were talking, and then
Yes. All right. Well, Andrea's joining us from Scottsdale. Hi, Andrea. She says she's appreciating the beautiful open hearts. So thank you, Andrea. All right. Well, I guess that's going to be it for us tonight. Okay. My son is sending 3 moons. Thanks. That's sweet. I want to let you know that we're actually going to be back here at Cava Diem coffee shop in St. Charles, Illinois. We're going to have a guest who's actually in the audience today. Diana Sheik is going to join me, and she and I are going to talk about going down the rabbit holes and about how to cope when your loved ones are struggling. So I'm really looking forward to that conversation. I think like between the two of us, we've pretty much gone down all the rabbit holes and had to claw our way back out. I'm really looking forward to that conversation. So that's going to be in 2 weeks. I think it's September 30th at 7:30 p.m. Central here at Cava Diem. I want to thank everybody online for joining us today. This podcast will be available where we post our other podcasts. Just go to my website, kac.com, click on the podcast button, and you'll figure that out from there. I want to thank everybody who came to Cava Diem to see us in person. It's been great to have you guys here. It's a small but mighty crowd. And hope you can join us next time. Thanks, everybody. That's a wrap, guys.